number of UMA Bangor students are raising safety concerns following interactions with some members of a homeless encampment near the Bangor campus.
Brittany McHatton has been following this story and joins us now with more.
While the encampment located off Cleveland Street is on city property, students I spoke with say interactions with people staying there often spill onto campus. The students say they have concerns not only for their own safety, but for the well-being of those living in the encampment. They say their pleas for help have not been taken seriously enough, and now, following a shooting on campus, they're speaking publicly to spread awareness of the issue.
Students are scared. They're scared for their safety. We don't really feel like much is being done.
Canaan native Colby Quinlan says she's always been aware of the homeless encampment adjacent to the UMA Bangor campus, but recent events have made her increasingly wary. As a school ambassador who gives tours of campus, the volume of questions she gets from prospective students and their families increases, along with the size of the encampment's population.
It was hard to kind of navigate as a student myself how to answer those questions, which were very, very valid questions.
Quinlan and Patton native Stacy Lee Anderson are part of a group of students setting out to find answers. They say as dental students, their clinic is the closest point on campus to the encampment.
I know personally I've seen indecent exposure with people along the barrier between public and university ground, entirely naked or partially naked. Students have reported that they've seen people unresponsive along the property. We've had unleashed dogs running on the property that have scared students walking into the building. There's just been so many things that we've reported, and they've been told that they're moving up, and ultimately everyone we go to seems to push to somebody else as their hands are tied because it is a complex situation.
The Bangor campus has always had a certain relationship with the unhoused population, partially because we have Hope House as a neighbor. So we've always had people coming and using the library, coming and hanging out in Eastport Hall.
The dean of the UMA Bangor campus says on the whole, members of the encampment coexisted peacefully with the school and its students. However, after the Ramada Inn closed in the spring of 2022, Sichters noted the encampment swelled in size. And then in 2023,
something changed in the fall. September, we started to see a lot of needles on campus. And we'd been seeing needles on campus, but when I say a lot, we would see dumps of dozens, in one case 100 needles in a pile. This had gone from being an issue of a homeless encampment to being an issue of drug activity.
Earlier this month, tensions finally came to a head.
A man is recovering in the hospital after a shooting overnight in Bangor.
Police say the shooting happened on the UMA Bangor campus in a parking lot on Taft Street.
The parking lot was maybe 500 feet from where we park our cars every morning.
Investigators believe both people involved were unhoused and living in their cars. According to police, neither was part of the nearby encampment. However, some students viewed the shooting as an escalation of an existing pattern of behavior, prompting them to amplify their pleas for help.
I think we deserve to have a voice at some point, and we all deserve to feel safe.
School and city leaders say they hear those concerns and are working to address them, but solutions don't come easy.
There have been unhoused individuals in and around this area forever. It is not new, and it is not going to disappear overnight. But what we hopefully can do is get the folks that have been there for a significant period of time into housing of one form or another.
Coming up on TV5 News at 6, we'll hear more about the response from UMA Bangor and the city, how they say they're already addressing the students' concerns and what steps can come next. As for that February 11th shooting, police say the investigation is still very active. At last report, the victim was still hospitalized but had improved. Officials anticipate the case will be presented to the district attorney's office in the near future in regard to potential charges.